Is your four-wheel drive illegal? Well, today I'm weighing mine to find out. We're also doing a super cheap mod that every four-wheel driver should have on their 4B. I also show some new mods I've done to the inside, and finally, I'm exposing some issues I've had with the 80 series and how a 1999 Honda CR-V might be able to fix them. So the 80 series is back in the shed on the hoist because I've got a couple things I need to do to it. Firstly, there's a mod I should have done a long time ago. It's affordable, it's easy, but I just never got around to doing it. But today, we're gonna do it. So, differentials, they get warm when you're out driving. And if you're out on the tracks, you know, up in the high country or wherever, going through bog holes or river crossings, you take a hot diff and put it into an icy cold stream, it's gonna wanna contract, and it's going to want to suck in air. Now, we have differential breathers, right? But they don't go very high. They're only going up to the chassis rail, and if you're anything like me, or you know, a lot of other people in the high country, you know that the high country rivers, you're often going through water that is well, you know, above the chassis rail. And so, you know, if water's coming up that high, there's a fair chance that that's sucking air in and potentially sucking water into differential, which is not good because it's going to get in all the oil, ruin it. You don't want it happening. So a mod that a lot of people do straight away if they intend on going, you know, off-road or through rivers is to do extended diff breathers. And now you'll do this because, you know, you want to cross through water, but you also do this, you know, if you're, you know, putting in bigger suspension kits. You'll see on the 80 series that if you have a 2-inch lift, like what I do, when the rear axle flexes, the breather line is millimeters from coming off. So I'm here at my rear axle, and this is the breather line, which goes up to there, just ends there. And here's the hose, and this is with it, you know, we're on the hoist, so the car's fully extended, and it won't go on. And, you know, if you're out 4Bing, you do some tracks, and then you go through a river crossing, and that's not on, well, it's not gonna be a good day for your diff. Another real bad thing about where the diff breathers currently are is they cop a lot of mud and crap from the wheels, especially the rear differential breather line. So they're just not they're in a great place if you're just driving around on the bitumen, it's fine. But if you're going out into mud, river crossings, all that, they're not in a good spot. The gearbox and transfer case breather lines, they're all connected into basically one big unit, and they're a lot safer than the differentials, a lot less exposed to the elements. So that's not too much of a stress for me, as I'm still gonna do it, but my first focus right now is doing the front and rear diff because they definitely need to be done. And so, you know, doing your diff breathers isn't hard, and there's many kits online that you can do to buy them. They range from, you know, anywhere from 50 bucks upwards, but I'm gonna do it DIY. This shed's full of a lot of things, and this is polypropylene piping. All the online diff breather kits from all the big brands use polypropylene tubing. I guess it's, you know, cheap enough and it's, you know, does the job. But I'm also going to combine it with a bit of bigger polypropylene piping. So this is actually reinforced with like a special element in there. So that's going to basically run from the bottom up, and then when it's going to run on the chassis rail, I'll use this thinner polypropylene stuff, and that'll get me all the way to the engine bay. But you can obviously go buy polypropylene from Bunnings for like 10 bucks for 9 meters or whatever you need. So it's a super cheap DIY mod that'll save your diff from sucking in water. And so the first step for this is going to be getting off the old breather hoses. Now, you don't need to DIY this. You don't need to like go scavenging through your shed. You can buy specialized kits for this, which have all the piping, all the fittings. Usually they actually use brand new fittings on the axles and transmission gearbox as well. So it comes with all the special fittings, and then you can plumb it up, and they have like even a nice bracket you can mount it all on the, you know, engine bay all nicely. So I was gonna just buy a kit, but I figured I've got material lying around. It won't be too hard to do it myself, so I'm just gonna do it myself and sort of do a homemade job. But it is important to make sure, you know, everything's sealed properly and you are using the correct tubing. Also, when you're running everything, you gotta be careful about where we're putting it. You don't wanna put it anywhere near the exhaust, and it can get hot, and yeah, it should be all good. So the plan is gonna be to extend all those breather lines up into the engine bay where they'll be free from sucking in any chance of water, because look, ideally, if you wanted to be like super smart about this, you'd run the breather lines into your airbox, and then, you know, they'd be getting air from the snorkel, which means like, you can be real submerged. But if I'm submerged above the bonnet for a long enough period that, you know, the breezer's starting to take on water, I'm in a bad state as it is. So I'm just gonna run them up to as high as I can inside the engine bay, because I don't really want to hack into the airbox. I'd much rather get a little bit of water in my diff then, you know, put a hole in the airbox and cause a leak to get water into the engine. So yeah, run them up. We'll get them up here somewhere nice, and yeah, we should be rocking. So let's get on into it. And so here is our factory diff breather. Now you can see it's absolutely covered in mud and crap. All right, so what I've essentially done is run the breather from the rear axle straight up, because you want to take into account, obviously right now it's on the hoist, so I know the maximum is going to stretch, but when the car's obviously, you know, running normally on the ground, the axle's going to be a lot closer to the body. So you want to take into account all that when you're sort of running your lines and everything. We're going to use cable ties to cable tie it all, and then we're going to run it along the chassis rail all the way to the engine bay. And so now we're all the way through to the engine bay, but I'm just going to lower the car now and see how that rear axle and those disc breathers are hanging. So that worked well, nothing got crushed. I still got to obviously pull a heap of slack through so it's all nice and tight. But yeah, nothing got crushed there, so we're in business. And yes, I did think about conduiting some of the stuff along the chassis rail, but this stuff is meant to be pretty hardy and actually run against stuff, so it should be okay. But if I do notice some stuff rubbing or whatever, I can always conduit it in the future. Alright, and that is the rear diff breather done to the front. Let's look at it. And here it is. Mounted just off the factory mount point. I've literally reused this side of the hose with a little air cap on here. So yeah, it should be able to breathe up nice and high. I'm not going any deeper than that anytime soon. It was all the way down, probably about here, so much higher. And now it's the same with the front. Basically, we're just extending it probably another 300 mil, so not very far. But yeah, let's get onto it. And what I've also done is replace all these old style like clamps that are on the holding the diff breather on to actual proper hose clamps that screw up. So with this on, hopefully they should never come off. And that's the front diff breather done. Let's see how they react when we lower the car. So we got a bit of slack here, which is good. That's what we want to allow for when we are fully articulating. We won't need to worry about the diff breather coming off anymore. And now there's our two rear diff breather, front diff breather, all mounted in there. It actually looks pretty factory in there now. Looks quite nice. And some of you might think that because I had to do a join to get these factory bits back on the other end, like with the hose, that it might not be like watertight. I've used really good hose clamps on there. It is tight. There's no way water's getting in that hose. And if you want to talk about, you know, bad hose joins, look at what, like, okay, Toyota obviously didn't plan this car to be wading like engine water deep water, but you look at some of the turbo piping, like how it all connects up, they're not great. So that's the diff breather extension done for the front and rear diff. Transmission, I'm gonna get around to hopefully the next couple of days, but yeah, that's a good one to knock off. Now I can safely, oh, I don't know about safe, but you can go through water with a lot more, you know, confidence. So yeah, all right, next task. Another issue I've had with the 80 series, which I actually haven't told you guys about yet, is to do with this heater valve. Now, this doesn't seem like a very complex issue. You know, the heater valve is obviously just opening up to let hot coolant into your heater core to then put, you know, hot air into your cabin. So it's pretty simple how it works. It's basically just a valve which opens and shuts, and it's controlled by this little wire here, which goes back into your dash where you have that little slider that goes left and right to hot and cold. Now, what happened with me was I noticed a huge coolant leak in the car. I was losing coolant like very fast. I was like getting extremely worried that it was like a head issue or something, but it ended up just being a leak out of the heater tap, and it was going all down the side of the block and everything. But yeah, that's what it ended up being. So I'm like, all right, easy. I'll call Toyota. I'll get a new heater valve set up, ordered, no worries. I called Toyota. Firstly, they don't even stock a heater valve for this car anymore. From 1990 to 1992, they've discontinued it. And the reason why they discontinued it is because Toyota, for whatever reason, decided to change the orientation of the tap inside. So whereas on my 1991 model, they open clockwise. After 1992, they changed it so it opens anti-clockwise. So you imagine I have a wire that extends out and extends in. If I get a later model unit, it's not gonna work. And now, the thing with the heater valve is it has a direction of which way it opens and closes it. And now, at this point in time, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't realize that's why they discontinued it. The guy in the front Toyota said the only difference between a 1991 and a 1997 is how it mounts. Well, he obviously didn't know what he was talking about, because I ended up getting a later model unit off a 1HZ, and the internals are completely different. That's the 1HZ one now, but as you see, the internals are completely different. So when this wire is pushed out for heater, that's actually closing the valve, which means there's no hot air coming in. So it's backwards, so it basically doesn't work. I tried inverting it all. We switched the screws around to make it work, but we could never get it to line up properly with this bit of wire. I then kept looking, and I got another one off an early model 1HZ, but it's the same issue, the direction's different. So it's just, yeah, a silly issue that Toyota made, and it's really annoying that they don't still support the old system. So it's like, what, do I have to pull the whole dash apart and put in a brand new heater valve or reverse it? Like, if it was just like a real quick fix, I'd do it, but it seems like I have to, you know, get behind the dash to where the actual heater control is, and change it to the opposite side so it'll work up with this. And because I thought at the start, I'm like, oh, well, it's all right, I'll just run it for opposite. So on my dash, it actually, hot's actually cold and cold's actually hot, but the heater controls are also, you know, hooked up to the heater core as well and other things. So yeah, it's just been a bit of an issue, but because it was summer, like, I just didn't use the heater anyway, so I just have it set to cold, which is cold's way up here. And then yeah, I just manually get out of the car and open the bonnet and flick it down when I want to put the heater on. Sounds really annoying, I know, but that's what I've been doing so far. And now I've been searching all over the internet for answers about this, like all through, you know, all the Facebook groups and everything. There's just nothing. There's one thread about it online, about a certain part in America, a certain heater valve tap that has the same direction of rotation of that they still sell. I tried ordering it from the States, it never showed up, and that was like 2 months ago. So then I looked around for that model part number through anything, and I found that it might be the same heater tap that's found on a 1999 Honda CRV. So maybe I'll go to the wreckers and find a Honda CRV and try rip the heater valve off that to replace with that. But yeah, it's just super annoying. It's just something that, like, I don't know why Toyota did that, but whatever. At this point, I'd pay $300 to get my heater tap back. But yeah, I don't know. Alright, so while I was up there filming, the mailman rocked up. It's always fun when the mailman comes, and that's a new little thing for the drawer system, but it reminds me, I've got some new things for the drawer system that I haven't actually showed you guys yet. So, look inside here. I've got clear top bags, which I've wanted clear top bags for the longest time. I think they're just the best sort of storage solution for drawers or just throwing in the back of your car in general. Clear top's the best because you actually see what's going on, you know which one's which. And these ones were actually sent out to me by the boys at AFM 4x4, which these ones I actually really like because they come with a divider. So I've got like a little salt and pepper rack here, so that and all my gear in there. And you know the best thing is, because they're, you know, bags, you can just pull them straight out and then get to everything really easy. But I honestly just leave them inside the drawers unzipped and just take out what I need. I've also got another one up here. This is a lot larger one, but I use this one for basically food storage. Anything where there's like potential for stuff to leak, I put in here. So it's yeah, good little storage solution just to keep things neat, but also take advantage of, you know, the full amount of space. They also sent me, I've got another one down here as well. This is not a clear top one, but this is just a little one I've been using to put little miscellaneous tools and small bits in there. But oh, it's great just having them because they're good quality bags first off, but they're also just good to organize things. And yeah, I can just divide them up to separate things and just throw them in and out of the car as I need. So that's awesome. But now back to what the mailman brought us. Now I'm pretty sure I know what this package is going to be. Aha, yes it is. So the boys at the drawer company that made obviously the drawer system for me, they've sent me out their new fridge straps. So they've actually got a new one with the little logo on it, and it's got a metal buckle. So they're actually, you know, good quality, the same sort of type I use on my jerry cans there. So I can throw these straight on the fridge, and yeah, awesome. Thanks, boys. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Went from 2 old ones to 4 new ones, so yeah, that's gonna hold it in nice and well. Yeah, awesome. Another little thing I've done, just because I'm going away on a short trip soon, so I just wanted to like add a little addition, and that is the Travel Buddy. I've never, like, I've wanted to use this thing so much, but it's always been like in a really, you know, I haven't been able to like have a good spot where it's been stored or easily accessible. So I've put it up here. I haven't like hard mounted down with screws or anything yet. It's just sort of sitting in there with the straps, but I've plugged it all in, and yeah, I can turn the Travel Buddy and cook just up here. So this is the good side. This is my awning side. This is where I'm sheltered. So, you know, I do want to do some more, you know, cooking, you know, a few pies or I don't know, do something cool in there, bake a cake, I don't know, I could do anything. But set that up in there, which is nice. I bought this a few months ago, but I never really talked about it. I've always wanted like a little sort of cooking tray for the Travel Buddy to, you know, you can put veggies in here or whatever you want to. I bought this at Coles, so I think it was like $8, and it's literally the perfect size. Just goes straight in there absolutely perfectly. So yeah, definitely gonna get more use out of the Travel Buddy. And now that it is, you know, I'm on the lithium, and what are we sitting at here? We're sitting at 13.6 volts on an overcast day. So because the lithium, just the voltage, the discharge curve on it is so much better. The voltage stays way higher, and that's 13.6 volts while the Travel Buddy is on. This thing can cook a hell of a lot faster than what it did on my old AGM battery. Now, one thing that I've been meaning to do, but I've been pretty scared to do, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably scared to do it too, is actually weigh your four-wheel drive. So I've put it over the weigh bridge, you know, sometimes last year, but that was before the winch, the rear bar, all that stuff. So and that was already then, it was pretty close to GVM. So I'm kind of concerned of how much it's going to weigh today. Obviously right now in this current configuration, we've got a rear bar on, we've got side steps on, we've got bigger tires, we've got the drawers, roof rack, solar panel, worn winch in the front, big bull bar. There's a lot on this car. You know, when I've got the fridge loaded, the swag on, full of clothes, all my cooking gear and everything, I think there's gonna be a lot of weight in the car, but I'm honestly not too sure. We're gonna find out, we're gonna weigh it and see what it is, because right now, GVM is 2960. So, yeah, we don't have a heap of work to work with, obviously. Like, this is, we'll just have to go wait and see. So we're gonna go weigh it and find out how much the old girl weighs. So let's go find out. All right, so I've been meaning to weigh the 80 series for a long time now. Ever since I put the rear bar on, all that gear, I want to know how much it weighs. GVM on this car is 2960. And last time I weighed it, I thought we were already pretty close to that number, but we're gonna drive on the weigh bridge now, and yeah, we'll see how much it weighs. Alright, so the 80 series is weighed. With me included, the car is weighing in at 3 ton exactly. So that's like 40 kilos over GVM. Note, this is pretty much in trip ready mode with the jerry cans are full, loaded full of gear. So the fridge isn't fully loaded, but this is basically the 80 at, you know, its max sort of weight. So we're looking at 3 ton in its current configuration. And if you don't know what GVM is gross vehicle mass. It's essentially the heaviest your car is legally allowed to be to drive on the roads. So for this 80 series Land Cruiser, it's 2,960 kilos, and that includes all your mods, all your passengers, and any weight pushing down on the rear tow ball if you're towing. So when I rolled over the scales and saw the car, you know, was sitting at 3 ton, 40 kilos over GVM for this car, I was a little concerned because, I'll be honest, I wasn't even fully fueled up. Like, I only had 30 litres in it. But it's like, yes, this car's got some mods on it, but it hasn't got anything crazy. You know, imagine some of the cars getting around with big tyres, heaps of bar work. Like, this isn't even that modified of an 80 series, so you can imagine how many cars out there must be over GVM. It's actually pretty scary to think about. And I'm sure, look, you know, I can strip some stuff out, I could empty some jerry cans, and I'd be under GVM and I'd be all good. But it's definitely something to think about, especially if you're going to go away with multiple people, load up the car really heavily, you know, put stuff on the roof. It's something you really got to think about, because I think GVM is that, you know, legal thing there that a lot of us sort of, including myself, just sort of, I'm under. But I mean, if a copper ever pulled you over and made you do that weigh bridge of doom, oh mate, he'd be riding a few yellow canaries that day. So, but yeah, I know that you can get GVM upgrades for the 80 series. I don't know any brand who actually does it, and I've never known anyone that's had it done, but I'm assuming it's probably quite expensive because, you know, they have to get it all engineered and safe and everything. But yeah, I don't know, it's definitely something to think about, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments, guys. How's your 4B going? Is your old 4B over GVM like mine, probably? Do you avoid weigh bridges? Let me know. I want to hear all about it in the comments, because it's just like an interesting thing that I think a lot of people just forget about in these old cars, and it's scary just how little it takes to push them over GVM. Alright, see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.